Norman Arthur Hale was born and raised in 1895 in the western suburbs of Melbourne. He grew up alone with his father, Joseph Hale, in Stanley Street, West Melbourne. Norman Arthur Hale was Church of England faith like his father. 20 years later, he enlisted on the 14th of July 1915 for the Australian Imperial Forces. In order to be able to enlist, Norman gained the consent of his father and also from his employer, the Victorian Railways, with whom he was indentured as an apprentice as a phone and telegraph linesman. He was granted permission to take leave for purposes of defence. Norman was trained at Broadmeadows Camp at Victoria. He then earned the rank as private. Private Hale was part of the 31st Battalion that embarked at Melbourne for overseas service as part of the 8th Brigade in Melbourne as a member of C Company aboard HMAT Wandilla on the 9th of November 1915.
The 8th Brigade joined the newly raised 5th Australian Division in Egypt and proceeded to France, destined for the Western Front. In June 1916, the 31st Battalion fought its first major battle at Fromelles on the 19th of July 1916.
The following account is an eyewitness report that describes the fatal events which surrounded Private Hale's involvement in the Battle of Fromelles. Private Thomas Perham, 31st Battalion, stated,
"On the night of July 19th, he went over with me in the first wave at Fromelles. He was slightly wounded, so I bandaged him up and he went on with us. We stopped at the German line where we bombed the dugouts and had a feed together. I then took some prisoners back and missed him when we came out of the dugouts and don't know where he went. I went forwards and joined the others till we withdrew from the German line."
Private Hale was reported missing in action on the 21st of June 1916 by his commanding officer. In August 1916, his father received a telegram from the Australian Army conveying the news. Early in February 1917, Mr. Joseph Hale, after receiving no further information from the Army since the telegram, wrote to the Army Records Office seeking information and clarification of his son's fate. By this time, he had received a letter from his son's captain stating,
"I regret to inform you that he was killed when our battalion first went into action last July. Although he was not actually working with me on that night, I know he was hit by a piece of shell. Your son had always been a pet of mine, and I had a good deal to do with him in those days, and I grieve his loss almost as much as I know you must. I regret I cannot give you any fuller particulars, but his own platoon commander was very seriously wounded and has not returned to duty. All I know is what I have learned from the men of the Corps. Unless an officer can vouch for a man's death, the authorities will only post as missing. Hence the meagre news that has filtered through the youth."
It was not until the 13th of March 1917 that he was officially classified as killed in action following an Army Board of Inquiry at which it was stated that his name had appeared on the German death list. Private Hale had the opportunity to serve in the Australian Imperial Forces for only 1 year and a month, as he is amongst those 16 men of the 31st Battalion who took part in the Battle of Fromelles and are listed amongst those buried by the German Army at Pheasantwood.